An expression consists of terms that are being added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided by each other. But an equation is a set of an expression that is equal to another expression. So the difference between the expression and the equation is that every expression is just terms, but an equation is terms that are set equal to each other. So every equation will always have an equal sign. That means that for every equation, if you have a variable, you can find a solution to your equation. To determine whether a number is actually a solution to an equation, all you have to do is substitute the number in for the variable and solve. If both sides of your equation are equal, which means if the left side of your equal sign is equal to the right side of your equal sign, then the number is a solution to your equation. Is x equals 7 a solution to the equation x plus 15 equals 22? To determine if x equals 7 is a solution, I am going to substitute, which means to plug in 7 for x in my equation. So instead of x, I would write 7, and then I would write the rest of my equation, which says plus 15 equals 22. Now I'm going to simplify the left side of my equation because these are like terms that can be combined. So if I add 7 plus 15, I get 22. So now my equation says 22 equals 22. Because this is balanced and both sides of my equation are equal, then I would say yes, x equals 7 is a solution. Is n equals 12 a solution to the equation n minus 3 equals 15? Well, again, I'm going to take 12 and substitute it in my equation for n. So I'm going to replace n with 12, and then I'm going to subtract 3 and say that it equals 15 because I'm going to write the rest of the equation. Now I'm going to simplify this side, so it says 12 minus 3, and I know that if I subtract 12 minus 3, I get 9. So now my equation says 9 equals 15. Well, I know that 9 is not equal to 15, so I can say that no, n equals 12 is not a solution to this equation. Next is h equals 15 a solution to the equation h over 3 equals 5. Well, I'm going to replace or substitute 15 for h. So I'm going to write 15 for h, and then I'm going to write the rest of my equation, which says over 3 equals 5. And now I need to simplify this side of my equation. And remember that when I have a fraction actually tells me to divide. So this really says 15 divided by 3. So if I solve 15 divided by 3, I get 5, and my equation now says 5 equals 5. Well, because this is true, I can say yes, h equals 15 is a solution to this equation. Is c equals 8.8 a solution to the equation 5c equals 40? Well, I'm going to replace or substitute 8.8 in for c in my equation. And I need to remember that when I see 5 next to c and there is no operation there, that actually means multiply. So this really says 5 times c. So when I write this, I'm going to write 5 times, and I'm going to replace c with 8.8. And then the rest of my equation says equals 40. Now when I multiply 8.8 times 5, I get 44, and then the rest of my equation says equals 40. Now since I know that 44 is not equal to 40, I know that c equals 8.8 is not a solution to this equation. Next I have is g equals 12.5, a solution to the equation 8g equals 100. Well, again, 8g means 8 times g, so I'm going to replace g with 12.5, so I'm going to write 8 times 12.5, and then the rest of my equation says equals 100. When I multiply 8 times 12.5, I get 100, and then the rest of my equation says equals 100. Now, because these are equal, then I know that G equals 12.5 is a solution to this equation. Next I have is P equals 24 a solution to the equation P over 8 equals 4. So I'm going to replace P with 24. So I'm going to write 24. And then the rest of the equation says over 8 equals 4. And now I need to solve. Remember, a fraction always means divide. So 24 divided by 8. When I do 24 divided by 8, I get 3. And then the rest of my equation says equals 4. Well, I know that 3 is not equal to 4, so no, P equals 24 is not a solution to this equation. And finally I have is K equals 32 a solution to the equation K minus 16 equals 14. I am going to replace or substitute 32 in for K. So I'm going to write 32 minus 16 equals 14. When I solve 32 minus 16, I get 16. And then the rest of my equation says 16 equals 14. Well, I know that those two numbers are not equal to each other. So that means that K equals 32 is not a solution to this equation.